We are right here at Red Clay State Park in Southeast Tennessee, where I'm going to share with you some of my family stories from right here at Red Clay, which is the final tribal council ground of the Cherokee before starting on the Trail of Tears. Okay, this would have been an example of the Red Clay Council House. Between 1828 and 1830, Georgia passed laws prohibiting the Cherokee from meeting for any other reason other than to sign a treaty to give up their land. The council had been meeting in the New Chota, Georgia, once met in Alabama in 1831 and moved here to Red Clay in 1832. So the sleeping huts would have been for folks visiting the tribal council grounds, whether they were other Cherokee or soldiers or so forth. Over here we have the Blue Hole Spring. No trespassing. You cannot go into the spring. There's a couple of different stories, legends, myths about the spring. Let me come on over here so you can see it better. You can see this crystal clear water that's characteristic of a spring here in Southeast Tennessee that would be really super clear. The spring would form a creek that you see running from it. This was, of course, the water source for the area. There is a walkway going over the spring. That's part of the little Blue Hole Nature Trail here. It just goes right around the spring. Some of the family stories that I have about this property right here stemmed from a time when my great-grandmother's sister lived here. My mom played here as a kid. This was before it ever became a state park property. One of my family stories actually surrounds this spring. The story is that people in the community decided to try to find out how deep the spring was. They gathered up all the rope that they could find, tied a stove onto the end of it and chucked it into the spring, but it never hit ground. This spring, according to the ranger that I just spoke with, has never been more than at most 15 feet deep. He says that there is a small space that he indicated that it would have been around 8 inches. Much, much, much too small for a wood stove. That I've heard that fish were pulled out of here that had no eyes because it was so dark that they never saw light. Probably not, from what he said. Another story that I'd always been told, that the Cherokee had possessions that they could not carry with them. This was the starting point for them on the Trail of Tears. They dropped it into the spring. There's no evidence of that according to the ranger. So there again, it's a question of, is this the spring or not? Now, the ranger also shared with me that around half a mile away there is evidence that there was another spring that's listed on maps, so theoretically it sank. That theory is not as far-fetched as you might think, because there are sinkholes literally all over the Southeast Tennessee area, and we are talking about dating back to the 1838 era. So is this particular spring at this Red Lake location the stuff of legend? Only time knows. We had family reunions here. As a child, we would put watermelons in the water because the water was so cold. It stayed at a perfectly cool temp coming up out of the ground, and so we would put watermelons in there and they would chill, and then by the time we got ready to have the fruit at the picnic, they would be nice and cold. So there you go. So what stories do you have about Red Clay? Is there a historic site in your family? Let me know. Leave that in the comments below. If you ever do want to visit Red Clay State Park for yourself, I do highly recommend that you do. It is in Cleveland, Tennessee, just a short drive off of Interstate 75. The visitor center hours do change seasonally, so you're going to want to check their website before you go. There are buildings here of historic significance, a picnic pavilion,
hiking, lots of things to see and do, plus a visitor center and a gift shop.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done so, because we are hashtag #BeBodacious. We go out and have fun no matter what life throws at us. And I will see you out about